I think it's important for me to be involved as a state advisory group member because the charge is to help the experience of juveniles in the system, and it's important to have youth voices represented. I think it's particularly important to have system-involved voices, but community members at large, folks who have a vested interest in the well-being of our youth in the system, I think is equally important. I think, again, elevating the voices of people and centering them around lived experiences in the system.
It's important for me to be involved in my state advisory committee is because we get to advise the governor and educate him on state policy, as well as any other issues that revolve around juvenile justice. It's important to me because of my lived experience. At a young age, I had come in contact with the law and was facing a large amount of time, but I was given an opportunity to come home and do good.
My priorities as a state advisement group member is to advocate for juvenile justice reform and to give a voice to the youth that do not have a voice. Ultimately, one of our goals is to hold a conference for juvenile justice and see what we can come up to reform the system.
My specific priorities of being a youth SAG member are to elevate youth voice, participation, and educate our executive branches on alternatives to detention. That there are opportunities to rely less on incarcerating youth and more and keeping youth in the communities. So making sure that the lightest touch is given to the youth when coming in contact with the law, and making sure that they have the resources to be successful in either re-entering society or preventing them from even getting in contact.
I think to start advocating for change, we need to put ourselves out there as youth. We need to start engaging with the community as well as with the leaders, and we need to have our voice heard. So you can't have your voice heard without putting yourself out there.
I think that for me, it's a privilege that I am selected, but I come into the work not just speaking for myself, but for speaking for a lot of individuals that don't have this opportunity or have the accessibility to come into these types of platforms or settings. I make sure to remember who I'm speaking for, and I speak from my heart.
So if I could offer any advice or insight from a youth perspective, a woman of color, Latina, I think always centering and honoring people's lived experiences, because often we get told, and certainly as millennials, that we don't have enough experience or this or that. And that might, in some cases, be factually true. We might not have as much, but we're still at the table and our voices deserve to be heard. And sometimes our lived experiences are all that we have to call upon. We have to be willing to make space for what that might look like. And it might not always look very neat because, we're still emerging leaders, growing adults. And there's a lot of life experiences that we're having to learn simultaneous to the experience of being on a SAG and learning about subject matter in juvenile justice. And I think that to not diminish that, that is, I think, the foundation of why we choose to go into this work is our own individual lived experiences, whether that's in the system, around the system, trying to improve the system.